the last year, one mission has dominated the world of space science: Rosetta. The European Space Agency's premier mission will now make its most daring part yet, as it attempts to put a lander down on the surface of Comet 67P Churyumov-Gerasimenko. The Rosetta mission has been over 20 years in the making, and first blasted off in 2004, taking over 10 years to catch up with the comet. It's now reached there and is over 500 million kilometers away. Now in orbit around the comet, Rosetta has been carefully mapping the surface, trying to find a place for the Philae lander to set down. After careful consideration, ESA finally decided on a site called Agilkia. Finding the site was particularly difficult, as early pictures of the comet showed that it had an unusual shape. Many said it looked a bit like a rubber duck. This is because the comet is something called a contact binary, which is where two chunks of comet somehow come stuck together. They're still not sure how exactly this happened or when this happened, but that's one of the things that Rosetta and Philae are hoping to find out over the coming year. But eventually they managed to find a site that was both filled enough with sunshine that they could charge up Philae solar panels, was accessible from Rosetta, and also managed to give a good place to do a lot of science. Philae will detach from Rosetta at about 8:30 in the morning, but we won't hear about it until 9 AM. That's because there's a 28-minute delay between Rosetta and Earth. After detaching, it'll be another 2 hours again until Philae is far enough away that it can make contact with Rosetta. From then on, it's the 7 hours of boredom. Even though Philae will be doing science its entire way down, it'll take 7 hours to reach the comet's surface. It'll only be going at around a walking pace. Philae only has 65 hours of battery life when it detaches from Rosetta, and that includes getting to the comet. As soon as it gets there, it's going to start what's called its first science demonstration phase. First thing it's going to do is it's going to take a panoramic image of the entire area around it. So this will be our first close-up view of a comet that mankind has ever had. And they'll be beaming those images straight back, and hopefully we'll get them out soon. After it's done that, it's going to start analysing the comet in a lot more detail. Using those panoramic images, it's going to try and find a spot to deploy its drill. And this will bore down into the comet's surface and deliver a sample into the Philae's onboard laboratory, which will use spectrometers to analyse what the surface of the comet is actually made out of. And this is what Rosetta is all about, actually finding out what comets are made out of. Rosetta has already done a lot of science as it's been going in orbit around the comet, analysing its coma. So this is all the gas and dust that's already being given off from the comet's surface as it begins to become active, as the sun heats it and all the ice that it's made out of begins to melt and form a gas. What Rosetta has already found is that there is a lot of water, which is what we expect from a comet, but there's also a lot of organic compounds, and this is vital. Current scientific theory is that all forms of water on this planet were delivered by comets. And if these comets also have organic compounds, things like amino acids, then these might have been the building blocks for life. And so all life on here, on Earth, began out there. And this is what Rosetta is trying to work out. Rosetta has been in orbit for several months already, and will stay in orbit for the next year as the comet goes into orbit around the Sun and through perihelion, its closest approach. As it gets closer to the Sun, the comet will get more and more active, and it will start giving off more gas and more dust. And this means that around March, it'll be completely impossible for Philae to function. There'll just be too much gas and too much dust for it to be able to recharge its solar panels. But that's fine, because Rosetta will still carry on analysing the coma as it comes off. And even if on the 12th of November Philae doesn't manage to make a successful landing, then it doesn't matter too much, because Rosetta is still there, and Rosetta will carry on doing the job that Philae couldn't. Rosetta has already done part of its job, and as soon as the Philae lander has been set down, then it can really begin its science phase in earnest. It will carry on until August 2015. So to Philae and Rosetta, we wish you good luck.